We are live now. Please go ahead, sir.
We can have this conversation today. So welcome everybody on this very lively afternoon. As we were bantering just before the Honorable Minister came online, I've worn a red tie to make sure that everybody is cheerful despite the tough times we all are going through. So welcome again on behalf of ASSOCHAM and on this session on modernization of very topical session on the modernization of MSMEs. And it's a pleasure really to have the Honorable Minister Shri Pratap Chandra Sarangi also with us, and I'm sure he will share his thoughts as we go through. I think, I am based in Bombay. I'm the CEO of a company called Dun & Bradstreet, where we do data and analytics. And, we've been around a long time. It's a lot of learnings, I guess, all of us can have as we go through time. But in terms of appreciating the theme, which is today, I'll make some opening comments which may set the stage for our discussions. And I hope we all have a great time hearing the minister and his thoughts and all the thoughts we have to share. So let me talk about one very important aspect with some very broad themes. Because, as I said, we are from the side of data and analytics, I'll start with a little bit of only one point of data, in relation with Indian SMEs and their global competitiveness. So now a lot of us might know it, some of us may, some of us may not. Only less than 1% of Indian MSMEs are engaged in direct export compared to 17% of our MSMEs in our peer group countries, only 1%. So to be able to compete in international markets, MSMEs in India will need to improve their competitiveness. That's a given. And again, we live in a very globalized, increasing world, interconnected world, despite the problems we're all going through today. And if we don't improve our competitiveness, it's going to be a problem even for the remainder 99% of the MSMEs who are not engaged in direct exports. Because failing to improve competitiveness will result in ceding market share sooner or later to foreign competition, even in our own domestic market. So forget the export markets. Even the domestic markets will be a challenge. We all acknowledge that the MSMEs face a host of challenges. We service a lot of them, and we just recently did a survey on that sector. And on top came out again, access to finance and access to markets are the key challenges which the sector continues to face. And that's what we're here to talk about this afternoon, that there are new technologies, there are new ways which possibly can help solve these problems. So for example, on the access to capital side, new technologies have opened up which allow access to finance, peer-to-peer finance, crowdfunding. So again, there needs to be targeted policies possibly in India across various ministries, across the corporate sector, to make some of these methods available for financing for SMEs more better, more cheaper. Even on the access to market side, there are new platforms. There are products from companies like ourselves and many others, which are a step in the right direction where MSMEs can also access new markets, get new clients, and reach out to more non-traditional export markets as well. So I think those are the themes today. I think with the minister's presence, and I'm sure he'll touch upon it a lot, the government obviously needs to play a key role in maintaining the momentum, in improving the overall ease of doing business, specifically for this sector. And obviously along that comes with a huge impetus on physical infrastructure, which has been talked about a lot. So I think with those opening comments, maybe I'll hand over to Mr. Vineet Agarwal, President ASSOCHAM, to say a few words, and then we can move from there. Thank you. Vineet.
Thank you, Avinash. Honorable Minister of State, Shri Pratap Chandra Sarangi ji, thank you so much for joining us today. I would also like to welcome Shri Umesh Balani, Dr. Lavnish Channa, Shri Subhash Chand Joinwal, who is the Chief General Manager at SBI, Shri Harsh Pokarna, Shri Sameer Vakil, Dr. Rene Van Berkel, Shri Sushil Kumar Saravgi ji, and Avinash and Deepak. And it's a pleasure to welcome all of you to join us today in this very, very important and pertinent subject on modernization of MSMEs. ASSOCHAM has a large base of members specifically almost 4.5 lakh, about 450,000 members from other associations as well, which really form the backbone of our country. In this second wave of Corona, the impact to MSMEs has been very, very disproportionate. There has been impact on their demand. There has been impact on their raw material prices, and they've not been also getting money from the respective principals. So there is a huge struggle, and specifically in the services, hospitality, and tourism sector, that struggle is even more deeper. So there is certainly a need to support them, provide a concentrated relief measure to MSMEs across the country. Some of these could be very simple, like giving 20% additional working capital limits without any collateral, to even direct benefit transfer to small shopkeepers or street vendors, including additional working capital limits. There could be also some reclassification of NPAs for MSMEs. These are some measures, and I'm sure today we will possibly touch on these through various discussions. Because without the growth of MSMEs, our country will not really be able to put up the growth targets of $5 trillion. Now, when we think about modernization of MSMEs, I think we all think about very simply only technology. However, I think I can take an example of my firm, which really started off as a micro enterprise. We are into the business of logistics. And about 62 years ago, one person in our company started the company, my grandfather, with just one truck and one office. So it was clearly a micro enterprise. And that micro enterprise has now grown to be a small and then medium and then, of course, a large enterprise. So everyone starts up like a startup, every micro enterprise. And that support that is needed now for the MSMEs is what will make them really modernize as we think about it. So several areas around modernization. One would be, how can I ensure that I'm agile and I'm responsive to the market conditions, because market conditions are very dynamic today. How can I be more competitive? Again, we've seen that in this second wave or around the last few months, raw material prices have been going up. And that's put a severe pressure on a lot of MSMEs. But how can I be continuously competitive? And then how can I be compliant? Because if I'm not compliant, I will not have the right platform to leap up, to grow, to be eligible for many other larger opportunities that may arise because I'm compliant. So to do these things, several things are important. First and foremost is a mindset change. I think all MSMEs need to think about this as a primary factor. How can I ensure that I'm building trust with my team? How can I ensure that I have deep customer orientation? And how can I ensure that I'm always learning and so that I'm always growing? Then I need to definitely use resources wisely, which would mean connect on various MSME platforms. The government has so many schemes. I was talking to someone yesterday who has started her own micro enterprise, and she registered with the government as an MSME. And she was saying that there are so many opportunities to work with the government and the schemes that are there. I was not even aware. So perhaps there is an element that the government needs to do on creating a lot more awareness at the grassroots level. And can, as an MSME, I use these resources wisely? And last but not the least is use technology. Now, technology is a tool, and these are the tools for perhaps managing my books of accounts, for making my digital payments, for managing my payroll, for managing my manufacturing process, raw material process. These are all tools that can help think about modernization. So overall, modernization has to be thought about not from a tech perspective only, but from a mindset perspective and a holistic perspective for MSMEs to be competitive and agile in this world. I look forward to hearing from everyone on their thoughts. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vineet, for those opening comments, and you included a lot of material in those comments, so much appreciate that. Could I please invite my my co-chair on the MSME Development Council, Shri Sushilji, to say a few words. Sushilji? Are you on mute, sir? Or are you?
Yeah, no. Honorable Minister and other distinguished guests, when we talk about MSMEs, we know that the MSMEs are important for generation of employment and serving as an engine for development and catalyst of inclusive growth in the country. But when we talk about the modernization of MSMEs, the overall objective of modernization of MSMEs should be to improve their productivity, to improve their competitiveness, to make use of the best innovative tools available in the market to the larger enterprises, to obtain access to the untapped markets, information, use of the data analytics tool, and financing mechanisms, and improving their production pattern in a more sustainable and eco-friendly way. So my thought about when we talk about the modernization of MSME is because I myself run MSME, so comes into all these spectrums of productivity enhancement, sustainable development, use of innovative tools, access to untapped markets, information technology, and definitely innovative financing mechanisms. So I would be very much interested to hear the views of other participants on all these issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Sushilji. Thank you. And sorry to hear about illness and all of that. Next, if I could invite up Dr. Rene. Dr. Rene is based in India, is the regional office of the UNIDO. Originally from Netherlands, which a country which I have a lot of respect for, and a PhD in environmental science, which is very topical as well on what's happening generally globally on ESG and how it possibly relates to MSMEs as well. Dr. Rene?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Honorable Minister of State for MSMEs, Sri Pratap Shankar Sarangi, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed my pleasure to contribute on behalf of UNIDO, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization. UNIDO works on to promote inclusive and sustainable industrial development in member states, which includes India, of course. We work then to promote basically factories that are fit for the future because they have overcome the shortfalls of the past. These are factories that produce goods that are of good quality and design and performance that are sought after in the market, that provide factories that also provide conditions of work that are decent and are supportive to communities, and that they that comply and where possible exceed environment and energy regulations. MSMEs, as several have already mentioned, is a backbone to the Indian economy and indeed also manufacturing in terms of total contribution to the economy, job creation, exports, and indeed also as suppliers to essential parts and components to large and transnational corporations. So might not export directly, but might export as a final product of another corporations. MSMEs are extremely diverse. If we look in the manufacturing segment, we see high-tech startups, startup innovators, as well as very low-tech backyard or street-side workshops. Despite many good examples, by and large, particularly the micro and small enterprises underperform large and medium enterprises in terms of productivity, quality, waste, effluence, emissions, and work environment. This is of concern as it means economic opportunities are wasted and health and safety of workers, communities, and environment are being compromised. MSMEs have been particularly hit by the COVID pandemic. Under a global initiative to map impacts of COVID on manufacturing, UNIDO and India SME Forum are currently surveying Indian firms. So far, some 360 firms responded during April-May. 9% had discontinued operations, 60% reported decreases in sales by an average 29%. Yet on the positive side, there's also 15% of the respondents which report increased sales. 67% reported decrease in profits by an average 38%, however, also 8% increased profits. 69% reduced workforce, and about 25 indeed reduced workforce by 50% or more. The pressure for business survival is immediate, as 21% to have to close down if the current situations continue for more than 3 months. But on the other side, there's also about 31% that expects that they can be resilient and weather the storm for another year. In 2020, you need to drill down into the underlying challenges for MSME recovery. It could be grouped in under 5 headings. Firstly, there's a lot of uncertainty, unprecedented uncertainty about the pandemic, the reoccurrence that we just saw, this society and policy. Secondly, we see collapsed markets, reduced consumer confidence, and changing customer preferences. So we don't know where we can sell. Thirdly, concerns and the availability of the workforce, and also the necessary arrangements that need to be made in the workplace to zero out infection risks and to change also work procedures accordingly. Fourth is the burden of decaying stocks, things which are no longer needed, and decaying equipment because it's not being used and rusts away, so to speak. And fifth are then the disruptions in the supply chain. We put together guidance for MSMEs, businesses to restart, recover, and revitalize business through what we call then building back business from crisis, a knowledge platform that's accessible by www.b3cmsme.org. Moving forward towards economic recovery under highly uncertain conditions, the best run enterprises are likely to adapt and recover first. Excellence in manufacturing comes first. UNIDO approaches manufacturing excellence from 3 complementary angles: by making manufacturing units efficient and effective with mature, evidence-based and adaptive management. Several have already said that technology can be an enabler towards manufacturing excellence, yet on its own will not do the trick. We need entrepreneurial owners and operators who have the desire and competencies to grow, excel, and take calculated risks. We need supervisors who understand and can practice productivity and quality and recognize the importance of systems, procedures, and data. We need a diverse and motivated workforce that actively contributes to business success. In closing, I would reiterate that the window of opportunity for being second best is in constant decline, particularly in current time of uncertain and stagnating markets due to the COVID
Dr.
pandemic.
Rene, sorry to interrupt
And associated
you.
yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. We have a second, after 45 minutes, we will have a detailed discussions. If you can wrap up now.
Yeah, I wanted to close here. I wanted to just close with the last sentence that workplace and procedures need a revision to break the change of infection management transmission. It's the right time to clean out factories and workplaces to free up space, materials, equipment, and working time that are no longer needed. That's the thrust of what I would like to talk about later on at Swatch Ujog. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rene. Yeah, a lot of things you mentioned there may be good to pick on in the second session after the minister has spoken. Next up, if I can invite Shri Sameer Vakilji, CEO and co-founder and CEO of Global Linker. Sameer.
Thank you, Avinash. Honorable Minister and all other guests and participants. We did talk about, small and medium enterprises or micro, small and medium enterprises. But the best thing about micro, small and medium enterprises is their dreams for their businesses are anything but micro or small or medium for that matter. They always harbor big dreams. And for those big dreams, I think they need to be appropriately resourced. I think anybody running business, yes, we talk about the pandemic and we talk about bad times around us. But I think if we, on the other side, flip the coin and look at everything that today's world offers businesses like never before. And yes, it is largely technology led, but I think it's really the mindset shift that can allow us to use common, simple and available techniques, not feel constrained, and then look at the new tomorrow we want to create for our businesses, our employees, our clients, as well as for ourselves. And I think this whole concept, only a few years ago, whenever you talked about business, production or anything, it was always make versus buy. Today, you don't need to fall into the make versus buy trap. You also have the ability to either collaborate or use as a service. We would always talk about significant infrastructures. I remember times when people would walk you through very large data centers and show you how impressive their data centers were, which talked about their processing capacity. Today, even a small laptop does that, or you actually enjoy small and medium enterprises can have the same infrastructure that Fortune 100 companies are using as long as they're using outsourced data centers. Your capital requirements have entirely changed from where it was. You can actually use pay-for-use services. You don't need the kind of investments we'd ever needed in the past. And you don't need to start big and broad. Services are very, very modular, and you can actually start building businesses and start scaling up as your business scales. So you really can do things pretty much just in time. So I would encourage MSMEs to really open the mindset. I think Vineet talked about that in his opening statement about how from one truck today they're one of the most formidable players. So it really requires a mindset change. And in today's day and age, if the mindset can be around using and leveraging technologies, not feeling constrained by size, in fact, using size to your advantage, because some of the larger enterprises who have built legacy technologies will take much longer to react than we smaller businesses can. So I think that's the great opportunity for us. We have a number of players that offer you access to customers, clients, etc. Call them listing services. Think of them as fish. But in addition to the fish that you can access, and you must also start using the fishing rods that other organizations are able to provide you, so that you have the right balance and mix. And without that constraint, I think every small and medium enterprise would be a small and medium enterprise of yesterday and would be the enterprise of today. So I think that's really where we need to go, and can't be more fortunate than to be doing business at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Samir. Thank you. I'm glad my red tie had a very positive impact, definitely on your words. So well put. Thank you so much for that. Next up, if I can invite Shri Harshji, which is a topic very close to, I guess, all of our hearts in terms of capital and the lack of it for this sector. Harsh is the co-founder and CEO of OK Credit. Harsh?
Hi, thank you, Avinashji, for inviting and organizing this session. It's an unprecedented time for all of us, and I, of course, share the view Samirji shared with us, where everything is possible, and these MSMEs can have access to all of these services or opportunities, right? But we at OK Credit believe that while technology is there, all of those things are possible. There are two barriers that they have to break before they can have that access, and one of them is ease of use of technology, and the second one is, of course, affordability of that technology, right? And these are the two barriers that we as a company also want to break, and to enable MSMEs to have access to that technology and be a part of the digital economy, right? So since our inception, one thing that we have proven is basically that these two barriers can be broken, and one is ease of use. So we now have a distribution. So we our first product is OK Credit, right, which enables faster collections for MSMEs, and it's a very simple to use mobile based application which now is used by over 3 million MSMEs on an active basis, right? And the whole reason that we could distribute to these many MSMEs was that it's very, very, very easy to use, just like a WhatsApp, which anyone can use on their own. The second important thing is affordability. And prior to us, if you would look at any company who was building software for businesses, they would always be sales led, right? Where they would have feet on street on the ground, salespeople who would go out in the market and sell or present that software to the MSMEs. But we actually built a very product first approach of distribution, where we inbuilt virality into our products. We built word of mouth, and of course the ease of use helped. And hence we have been able to distribute to these MSMEs in a very cost efficient manner. And hence also breaking that barrier of affordability, where it is now economically viable for them to adopt software and have its benefits, right? So again, this is something which is very close to our hearts, and we are proud to say that we are also democratizing technology for these small businesses, in a different way. And of course, I share the sentiment of Samirji, right? It's a very fortunate time to be doing business in India. Thank you.
Yeah, Harsh, thank you so much. Thank you. Just in interest of time, I'll move rapidly along. So next up is Shri Subhash Chand, the CGM at State Bank of India. Shri Subhashi, we obviously are well aware of all the difficulty bankers are going through in operating in this very difficult environment. So congratulations and well done so far. I'll hand over to you, Shri Subhash.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Gupta and Honorable Minister for State, Mr. Sarangi, and other colleagues. And thanks for giving me this opportunity to share few of my thoughts. And because of course it's a very relevant topics we have chosen, that the moderation MSME. So I think it's a very relevant in today's date when we are passing or facing this pandemic, because we did not have that experience to face this sort of challenges in the past. But now that we have no options but to that MSMEs go for that modernizations. And on other side, definitely that since I am a banker and from the banks also plays a very important role for funding that MSMEs and giving their support. So digitization of lending from that banks or from the fintech is also very important, because that MSMEs, those who are, I can say it's not an optional now, because those that MSMEs, those who are digitally empowered, okay, are able to increase their revenues, keeping their risk lows, decreasing the cost, and diversifying the customers also. Okay, so and definitely that today's it's a customers market. I can say that acquisition of customer is very important for MSMEs. And as we are talking about that the artificial intelligence and machine learning, so definitely if that the MSMEs are that on the digital platform, so definitely they can acquire that the more and more customers to increase their folds and all that. And definitely that just in this the same context, government has also that initiated that registering of MSME on that Udyam registration portal, which is I think very important, because as of now we can have that idea or that the data that approximate 70% MSMEs are in unorganized sectors. So if we can, that MSMEs can go on this Udyam portal, so definitely it will be very easy to regulate as well as to provide as much as that the benefits available to MSMEs. Because as of now, bankers are providing a lot of benefits like that in the rate of interest or the other charges. So I think that the big basket is there for available for the MSMEs, provided they avail that the digital platform and go for the modernizations. So this is all from my side in the beginning. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Subhaji. Thank you so much. Just again, in terms of time, moving rapidly, Shri Umeshi, who's my chairman on the ASSOCHAM MSc Development Council. Umeshi. Umeshi, are you there? Are you on mute?
Thank you, Avinash, and good afternoon to the Honorable Minister, the President ASSOCHAM, co-chairs, the speakers, and the participants in this session. The speakers before me have spoken about the need for SMEs to be competitive, having a right mindset, as well as the need for using digital tools. I will add my 2 bits about the critical need for automating the core manufacturing infrastructure of the SMEs. I often meet a lot of fresh engineers, and when I speak with them, and these engineers are often from the second-rung engineering colleges. Most of them say that they want to be creators or knowledge workers and not work in a factory. Children of existing workers want to be engineers, technicians in labs, even drive Ola cars, but not be employed in a small factory. There is a negative connotation to being a factory worker or a kamdar in a small company. This is in sharp contrast to the technology-based startups, which are considered a great and a hot place to start a career, even though startups in early stage have a similar revenue profile as a SME would have. Of course, a startup is considered a place where the employees get a chance to engage with new technologies and use modern equipment. That makes a big difference. India, even with the demographic advantage, lags significantly in manufacturing vis-a-vis countries like China. SMEs are not able to achieve consistent output or consistently high quality due to attrition and non-availability of skilled workers, and this is going to get worse. On the other hand, millions of fresh engineers and ITIs are not able to find suitable jobs in manufacturing due to a big mismatch between the job profile and their aspirations. One way out is to mechanize and automate. Mechanization and automation of manufacturing processes as well as the ancillary functions are critical to long-term survival and growth of SMEs. Apart from CNC metalworking machines, which have seen good adoption, automation in material conveying, welding, repetitive assembly, sheet metal fabrication, and usage of mechanized screening would not only boost productivity, but also reduce the operating cost. Robots are still elitist in India and seen only in science fiction movies. But today they have become an essential part of smallest of machine shops in other countries known for low-cost manufacturing. With more efficient drive and electrical systems used in such equipment and using rooftop solar power generation, India is blessed with great sun. Most factories can drive down their operating costs very significantly. Unfortunately, we do not produce much of the hardware, and the automation core is still imported from Western countries. So the capex involved in automation is still not within the reach of most SMEs. While many state governments provide incentives to SMEs for modernization and automation, this may not be attractive enough. India's competitiveness in manufacturing is dependent significantly on the vibrant SME sector. Just as there are missions by Government of India to promote renewables, electric vehicles, etc., I believe a mission to localize the manufacturing of industrial automation equipment, including robots, and their faster adoption could be a game changer. Companies which automate would not only attract the aspirational knowledge workers, but also be able to deliver more consistently, be able to grow faster, and also develop capabilities and have the confidence.
Sir, sorry to interrupt you, sir.
Yeah, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, Meji. I think just in interest of time, let's move into the last speaker before the minister, Dr. Lavnish, who's also chairman of ASSOCHAM ITS E-Commerce Council. Dr. Lavnish, are you there?
Yeah, thank you so much, Honorable Minister of State, Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, Shri Sarangi distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, thank you very much for this wonderful session on modernization of SMEs. And I'll be focusing more on the role of digital technologies, and I want to set the context in the initial 1 or 2 minutes that have been given. From a technology standpoint, if I talk about, so there are 3 broad areas that I wanted to highlight. One, we are now moving from a digital India or a digitally society to a digitally intelligent India. That is, we are moving to the stage where machines are gradually becoming our co-workers. Now, from an SME perspective, there is a big opportunity that we see unfolding in both the dimensions. One, using this technology for business transformation. Second, looking at this as producers of this technology and taking a leadership role in that. Second point that I wanted to highlight in support of the digital part is that today, particularly after the pandemic, the digital consumers are a reality today, and hence there is a pull that will force automatically the demand for digital, even if I want to or even if I don't want to. And third is the innovative business models that we have been talking about in digital technologies are now giving way to innovative new forms of organization, and that's where SMEs have a larger role to play. Now, the only point is, what do I do? So there are 4 broad areas that probably may need attention. One, obviously, is the awareness of SMEs about these solutions. And somebody mentioned about the ease. Awareness is one component of the ease. Second is the access to low-cost technology solutions, and many have done that. As SAP, we have launched the whole ERP suite for SMEs at a much lower price. Third is gaining global market access using technology, and another example from our side being Ariba as the platform, and finally creating a talent pool that will actually meet the requirements of these SMEs. And I'm sure with the collective efforts of all stakeholders, we will be able to make the journey of SMEs fruitful. Thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing from the Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Dr. Amish, for condensing your remarks. I appreciate that. Just before I bring the Honorable Minister on for all of us to hear and for him to share his thoughts with us, I think one of the things with ASSOCHAM was, and obviously we had done in Bradstreet, we're very keen on, was to put together a specific confidence index for this particular sector. So as I don't know if Nahid has 1 or 2 slides, we are happy to announce that we're happy to launch the Dun & Bradstreet ASSOCHAM Small Business Confidence Index. And this is an index being pulled together, given specifically the importance of the small businesses. There have obviously been various studies and reports by many organizations on this space. However, the need for a systematically and periodically specific index capturing the business sentiments of small businesses, I think ASSOCHAM thought was unmet. We at Dun & Bradstreet thought was unmet, and we are partnering together to effectively launch this index, which we believe will help in giving a lot of correct signals for things going forward. So I think the idea is that this index will, ASSOCHAM will cover a large number of MSMEs every quarter, which will give a very good idea of what's really happening in the sector. The idea is around 1,000 MSMEs will be covered every quarter, which we believe will really give a good indication of what is happening. The index at any point in time will help us understand the perception of small businesses about their performance today and their performance going forward. The index will touch upon all the things you guys have mentioned. We've talked about this afternoon: the credit environment, the challenges faced in day-to-day operations, short-term and long-term business priorities. And in terms of being a guiding tool effectively to inform policies and decision-making for corrective action to be taken. This obviously will not be a leading indicator. I know there are a lot of statistics available in the public domain put out by lots of bodies, but those mostly are lagging indicators. The intention of these 1,000 MSMEs being spoken to every quarter would be to get a leading indicator as to what's happening and to enable better information dissemination and policy formation and decision making which directly correlates to this sector. It will also help possibly in informing monetary policy, as I mentioned. It'll serve as a benchmark in terms of understanding what's happening in this sector and to identify the risk and opportunities which we all have talked about this afternoon. So this is possibly the right moment to bring the minister in. So, dear sir, good to have you again this afternoon. In terms of, I think Vineet mentioned Shri Pratap Chandra Sarangi, the Honorable Minister of State for Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises and Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, the Government of India. Mr. Sarangi, as most of you will know, is from Odisha, and he serves as the National Executive Member of the Bharatiya Janata Party. He's won the Odisha Legislative Assembly twice, from 2004 to 9 and 2009 to 14, both from the Naragiri constituency. Dear sir, it gives me a lot of pleasure to have you here amongst us today. We'll be happy to hear from you. I'm sorry it took a little longer to get you up in terms of time, but the floor is all yours, and please take as long as you'd like. We can finish the rest of the proceedings at a much later date and time. Over to you, sir.
Namaskar. Sri Avinash Gupta ji, Co-Chairman ASSOCHAM, MSME Development Council and MD, CEO, India, Dun & Bradstreet. Vineet Agrawal ji, President ASSOCHAM and Managing Director of Transport Corporation of India Limited. Sushil Kumar Sarawagi, Co-Chairman ASSOCHAM, MSME Development Council and Managing Director for Energy Private. Dr. Rene Van Barkel, UNIDO Representative, UNIDO Regional Office India. Sri Samir Vakil, Co-Founder and CEO of Global Linker. Sri Harsh Pokharana, Co-Founder and CEO of OK Credit. Sri Subhash Chandra Jainwal, Chief General Manager SME and SCF, State Bank of India. Ramesh Malani, Chairman ASSOCHAM MSME Development Council and MD and CEO, Rotomark Motors and Controls Private Limited. Sri Lavnish Chanana, Chairman ASSOCHAM ITs, E-Commerce Council and Vice President Digital Government, Asia Pacific and Japan. I congratulate you all for your kind invitation to me to this August assembly to share my ideas with you. This subject is a very interesting one. The theme is quite interesting. Modernization of MSMEs. The subject is very vast, the time is limited, and my knowledge in the subject is quite limited. Justice. But I have been engaged by listening to your ideas. You have been working in this field. You have been enlightening people, and you have been working with the government. for a long time. So I congratulate you all for this. As you all know, micro, small and medium enterprises sector has emerged as a highly vibrant and dynamic sector in the Indian economy over the last 5 decades. MSMEs not only play a crucial role in providing large employment with lower capital cost than large industries, but also it helps in industrialization of rural areas and tribal areas, backward areas, thereby reducing regional imbalances, assuring more equitable distribution of our national wealth and income. MSMEs are complementary to large industries as ancillary revenues, and this sector contributes enormously to the socio-economic development of the country. I agree with one of our previous speakers who has emphasized on the change of mindset. Change of mindset of both entrepreneurs and customers. Entrepreneurs should change his mindset first, because he should be very much interested in developing the quality of his product. More profit orientation at the cost of the quality is very dangerous. It may be profitable at the outset, but it will prove very counterproductive in the last. So, should be very honest to the customer. Your products should be the identity of your own personality. Similarly, customers should also have a change of mindset, because in India, unfortunately, we have a very dangerous mentality. Anything of Indian origin is not worth having, and anything of foreign origin is very good. That is our mindset. That should be changed. Atmanirbhar Bharat, this great dream is to be achieved with the change of this mindset. MSME sector was one of this very hard hit area for this global pandemic, COVID-19, as the entire supply chain the world over has been completely disrupted. The Ministry of MSME has undertaken several revolutionary initiatives to modernize the MSME sector during this last year. These include putting in place financial support mechanism through fund funds, in which Government of India contributes 10,000 crores and 40,000 crore is to be collected from market through equity infusion. This is not yet been materialized, but it will be materialized. These include the changing of MSME definition, broadening of this definition, introducing IT West Champions platform to provide solution to issues related to MSMEs, and many more things. The union budget has doubled the allocation of the MSME to 15,700 crore for the current financial year 21. Important as these measures are, there are still palliatives. This opportunity should be used for bold and rapid structural modernization of MSMEs to attain Atmanirbhar Bharat. There is a need to upgrade skills in tune with the call of Honorable Prime Minister's skill, reskill, and upskill. The role and potential of Indian MSMEs, along with the need to improve their efficiency, productivity, and quality, needs to be viewed in the context of a globally competitive landscape, because expansion is like exploration. And now we have to expand. The whole world is to be enveloped by Indian entrepreneurs. The Indian government provides the definition of MSMEs, bringing it in the line with global standard. A move that will help MSMEs to scale up and generate more employment. With the government increasing opportunities for local MSMEs and reducing dependence on import, Indian MSMEs will be able to scale up operations and gain higher market shares across the various sectors. And for Government of India procurement up to 200 crores, no foreign player is allowed. Only Indian industries, Indian MSMEs, Indian business services are allowed to participate. The Ministry of MSME, Government of India approach to growth and indeed turned towards internal strength with the slogan, local for local product with global outreach. Customer orientation is a must. You have to develop your quality. There are in market, there are some products where it is written buy one, get one free. But I will show you a formula where buy one, get three free of cost. Buy one means you have to buy, you have to pay for excellence, for quality. If you pay for excellence, money, name and fame, everything will follow. You need not run after money, name and fame. Buy one, get three, free of cost. Authenticity of human element is more important than technology. In a process of development, the role of technology is maybe within 10%, and 90% depends upon the quality, the authenticity, the honesty of human element. And now, the business to survive, to sustain, you have to think on a very scientific approach, how to reduce the cost of production. Reduce the cost of production means reducing capital cost, reducing logistic cost, reducing power cost, so that we can have a sustainable business model. And with this also, we should not forget to maintain the quality. With the increase of quantity, quality decreases unless a very special attempt is being made to maintain the quality. A self-reliant India or the Atmanirbhar Bharat will stand on 5 major foundations. Economy, which brings in the quantum rise and not incremental change. Infrastructure, system based on 21st century technology, driven arrangements. Dynamic demography, which is the source of energy for a self-reliant India. And demand, wherein the strength of our supply chain should be utilized to full capacity. MSME sector in India can play a crucial role by standing robust on all the 5 pillars, thus achieving the vision of self-reliant India. Ministry of MSME is taking steps to making these enterprises global and improve the overall business environment by making it more conducive and transparent for all stakeholders. Private sector engagement in various bottlenecks of value chain and supply chain system is critical for success of various policies announced by the government. While the government works on creating a level playing field for the Indian MSMEs, these players will have to embrace technology and focus on value addition to enhance competitiveness in the global area. The global economy is set to undergo massive changes post the corona shock and provides India with a lifetime opportunity to strengthen its manufacturing prowess and position itself as a critical hub in the global language. I remember our Madhusudan Das from Odisha was telling, cultured hand is interest. If you crush a piece of stone, it will give you 500 rupees worth of chips. But if you carve an image on it, it will cost 55,000 rupees. That is the whole secret. This is value addition and this is interest. The government is also working on a policy to increase indigenous production of products that are being imported. Earlier we have seen how bamboo sticks for preparation of incense were brought 78% from China and 21% from Vietnam. How dependent we were. Now we have stopped. And how we are dependent on China in connection with this PP kits. Now we are preparing and we are exporting also. During this corona, we learned many things. And we have to produce all our necessities, and fulfilling our necessities, we have to march beyond our boundary to fulfill the necessity of the world. During the year 1700, India's contribution to the world GDP was 25%. And 1000 years back, our contribution to the world trade and commerce was 98%. Now, what is our condition? Because we did not want to be self-reliant. Our ancient culture is in the line of self-reliance. Gandhiji also told that all the villages should be self-dependent, so that India will be self-dependent, and India lives in villages. Swami Vivekananda also told India lives in villages. Now the villages is to be raised to a standard which others should envy. The government is also working in this line. For MSME sector to thrive in international market, we need to focus on 3 important factors: reducing capital cost, power cost, logistic cost. To become competitive in the international market, we are working on a policy to strengthen the export businesses. We have to reduce our import and increase our export. And so modernization is a must. But for modernization, we shall have to think very deeply, because in the name of modernization, we cannot spoil this biodiversity, this beautiful nature. During this corona, we learned that not tigers nor elephants are the destroyer of this biodiversity, of this environment, but man is the destroyer of all this beautiful nature. So our technology should be in conducive with this, should be eco-friendly and nature-friendly. Outdated technologies may not be beneficial for us to grow fast. Swami Vivekananda used to say that the first visible sign of life is growth. But all growth do not aid to the beauty of life. If there is a filaria patient, we cannot say that your leg has grown much, so you are a healthy person. You can exercise mercy on him, giving him some money, but he cannot be expected to be a healthy person. So there should be a harmonious growth. We cannot say equal growth. It is impossible. The law of nature is differentiation, but there should be equal opportunity for all to grow, equal chances for all to grow. So we still have to accept modern technology. Suppose if we will reject this electricity and go for the old lamps, it will not be wise. We have to march with the time, and technology is running very fast. There is explosion of technology. So we have to run keeping pace with the modern march. The present day, the present days in which we live in is the product of the human mind, which we call modern science. So we shall have to be very scientific in our approach, and our goal should be a sustainable growth, a harmonious growth, so that the technology may be in tune with the beautiful nature and biodiversity. So for this sustainable growth, we shall have to think, we shall have to work collectively. I am sure that today's deliberation will bring more clarity on the issues and challenges being faced by the MSMEs in India for developing a more robust system for the growth of our economy. With the help of all these stakeholders, we can definitely achieve an Atmanirbhar Bharat. And I think ASSOCHAM for its continuous effort for inviting not only me, but inviting many important persons who are present in the galaxy, and in earlier also in many occasions, they've been trying to disseminate their knowledge and experience among others, and to provide handholding support so that industries can grow. And for that, they are instrumental in bringing the idea of self-reliant India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, of our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi into practice. For that, I congratulate them, and I expect a bright future of this organization. With this, I conclude. Namaste.
Thank you, Mr. Sarangi. Thank you for those comments. I would like to, before I invite Mr. Deepak Sood, Secretary General ASSOCHAM, to say a vote of thanks. You really included a lot of things in your comments, so thank you so much for your time. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to interact again. Specifically, your comment about the 10,000 crores equity and the additional 40,000, if that you can do, I think that the SMEs will thank you forever and ever, sir. Deepak.
Thank you very much, Avinashji. Honorable Minister, it's always a pleasure to receive you and have your words of wisdom with us. I think MSME remains to be the most important platform, and use of technology which is eco-friendly, which is sustainable, and takes us to the future is the way forward. So thank you very much, each one of you. The index is going to be something which one ASSOCHAM is talking about, and would be a benchmark index which one can use and go forward. We'll seek your guidance as we prepare this, and more companies, more and more people will make use of this. We're very grateful to DNB to partner ASSOCHAM and create this piece of information, which will be created over a period of time with large participation of large chunks of industry. Thank you very much, participants from the industry, UNIDO, financial sector, each one of you. I think this is very, very fruitful. And Honorable Minister, once again, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
Namaskar. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Avinashji, back to you. The panel discussion continues.
Thank you. I was going to thank you, folks, for all your comments you made earlier. I was going to tell Deepakji earlier, but we really got to make the MSME a little bit of a balanced gender network as well. We've got all gentlemen on the panel and the screen, so we've got to change that next time around, hopefully. I will go with the order which has been shared with me.
With you 100%, and I am sure that this gender diversity is always maintained, and there's no reason why this can't be done going forward.
Yeah. No, it wasn't meant to be in any way, but it's more fun. It's balanced. So I'll go in the order which has been shared with me. That's okay, Dr. Reddy. You obviously had a lot of things you mentioned. I actually didn't pick up half of them. There was a website you mentioned as well where there was a lot of information you said available. Maybe it'll be useful if you could talk a little bit more on the things you were talking about around the modernization, on the manufacturing through excellence and innovation. Are you on the line still, sir?
Yes. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm sorry I was a bit quick, but just to repeat the website which we did is b3cmsme.org, which is building back business from crisis, and that is kind of I would say a little bit of a journey that MSMEs could take, in particular in the manufacturing sector, to recover business and rejuvenate business, and then not only a pathway, but then also looking at areas which are typical there for improving. So also cross-cut of functional areas on entrepreneurship, financing, supply chain management, and operations. And that comes very much back to the topic which UNIDO is very keen on saying that this issue of manufacturing excellence. I concluded by saying that the space for second best is declining, and I think that is typically an area where there's an attitude, which was also referred by the minister and by several of the other panelists, that this attitude of second best is always good enough. That is kind of as undermining the productivity, the quality, and the performance of the sector. So if we then drill a little bit down from UNIDO's side, we say this manufacturing excellence has basically three components. And the first one is what I would say is resource efficiency. So making sure that everything that you use in your enterprise, and particularly natural resources, so water, materials, energy, chemicals, and so are utilized efficiently. And if you do that, you have less left over to throw away. So your environmental impact is less. And then also you improve the work environment, and this is also one point there, because we see a lot of rotation in the workforce in the MSME sector, which undermines productivity. So if we create better working environment, we will also have that where. So we say this resource efficiency is very much a self-nurturing or a cycle that happens, and there are many opportunities, also business opportunities that arise. And the case in point is, of course, energy efficiency. And just to give you some examples, we work with Bureau of Energy Efficiency in 12 clusters, and there we set up, which covered dairy, ceramic, foundry, brass, and hand tools. And we set up their energy management centers, so to help them to monitor energy use. And these centers over the last 2.5, 3 years worked with 345 units that implemented over 600 energy measures, which saved 10,850 tons of oil equivalent. They invested, or they saved 59 crores for an initial investment of 90 crores. So that means about 18 months payback on average. And we can also see similarly other examples if you go to Kampu leather sector, where issues on water and chemicals management are more profound. And the second component of this manufacturing excellence is really manufacturing effectiveness. So doing only what is paid for by the customer. So that is also the principles of lean manufacturing, and then eliminating everything that does not contribute to value for the consumer. And this changed the sort of manufacturing paradigm from pushing out products to actually being pulled by the market in there. And this can start with relatively simple things. We talk about visual factory, so you can see the workflow automatically going. So the distraction is known, everything has its place. You can then look at standard operating practices and procedures, really making that happen, so that everything that goes wrong is immediately catched up. And we work, for example, just an example, of work that we do with ACMA, Automotive Components Manufacturing Association, is a tier 2, tier 3 suppliers to kind of introduce this concept of lean manufacturing, effectiveness. So let's just take an example. We just recently closed a cluster with 6 suppliers to St. Deutsch and Chennai. And they collectively then save 42 lakhs annually, reduced and absenteeism by 15%, machine breakdown by 30%, and lead times by 18%. A similar program was done with some suppliers of Tata Motors in Patnagar. 5 companies save 1.88 crores annually. So this is not big money. It's not in the lakhs of crores, but it is for small or medium enterprises. This is really worth doing. And then the third component, and that relates more to the maturity of the firm level capability to monitor and manage their manufacturing. And that you might see that that's the ability to observe, understand, predict, and adapt manufacturing process. So the whole way of how you look at this. And traditionally, or right now, when maturity is very much seen in terms of digital technologies or digitally enabled. But I would like to say that technology is not the only solution. It also relates to that idea. So, but firms with better production and technology capabilities benefit most from the digital transformation. You need to know what you're doing to benefit from digital technologies. Digital technologies will not help you to improve your manufacturing. UNIDO's research, which we did basically pre-COVID, but was really showing that India is sort of in the second group of leading countries globally. We have a few leading countries like the US, Japan, China, and a few, Germany. Then there's a second band of countries where India is the only middle-income country, which is in there, along with Australia, Italy, Spain, and so on. So India is quite good there. But I guess that excellence is also linked very much to innovation. And innovation, we have something like a fix with this technology, but innovation is basically being innovative in terms of new products, new technologies, new ways of running any business. And it's kind of stifled innovation by kind of what I may call short-termism, risk aversion, and the addiction to sort of cheap should always be better. Each of which are kind of attitudes which we see very much among the MSMEs. So a deliberate effort is needed to create excellence, innovation ecosystems around MSMEs to help them to improve. This is some of the work that UNIDO is also doing with the DST, Department of Science and Technology, on the Manufacturing and Innovation System Survey to see what kind of programs can be developed to bridge this gap between innovation, manufacturing, build also a mutual understanding that's more conducive, and that also differentiates India from very innovative countries like the Netherlands, Germany, Japan, or Australia. So this is a very interesting work. I would actually also encourage MSMEs online that are joining to participate in this survey. Share your views on how you innovate. That will help to understand what kind of programs can be developed. We can say put money here, put money there, but what is really the data on how innovation and excellence do happen in manufacturing sector? And these, of course, are, needless to say, areas that we are passionate about, and UNIDO can help ASSOCHAM and other partners to work substantively so that we have an inclusive and green recovery. And I very much echo your comments that effectiveness also comes with diversity, gender diversity in the workplace will add to efficiency and effectiveness and modernization of MSME sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rene. So you covered a lot, and maybe we should speak offline anyway, but in interest of time, I'll move on. But at the end, if we have time, I'll come back to some of the things you talked about in your original comments about the 5 reasons around uncertainty, markets, workforce, and things like that. So thank you. Moving rapidly on, back to my co-chairman, Sri Sushilji. Are you there, sir?
Yeah. So the topic that I'll be covering is scenario and growth prospects of MSME sector in India. We all know that the MSME sector is an important pillar of Indian economy and has emerged as one of the most vibrant part of Indian manufacturing sector also. MSMEs are actually backbone of Indian economy, and many MSMEs act as ancillary units to large manufacturing industries also. They play a pivotal role in socio-economic development of the country through their significant contributions to employment generation, being labor intensive, and economic empowerment of underprivileged classes. They are spread all over country and promote inclusive industrialization in the country. There are about more than 6 crore MSMEs in the country, employing more than 11 crore directly in non-agricultural activities. MSMEs make a significant contribution to exports also, though the number of MSMEs involved in exports are a little less, but in certain sectors like gems and jewelry, handicrafts, their contribution to exports is quite a large. India is expected to emerge as one of the leading economies of the world, and the MSME segment is expected to play a significant role in the scene. It is very important that MSME segment develops in all areas of agriculture, manufacturing, and services to make contributions to overall GDP as well as employment generation. With the emergence of domestic demand led by significant increases in spending and consumerism, coupled with increase in spending in infrastructure and defense sectors and increase in foreign investments, the MSMEs are definitely poised for growth prospects in next 5 years. Production-linked incentive schemes recently being organized by, announced by Government of India in many sectors recently announced will also have positive impact on MSMEs directly as well as indirectly also for those MSMEs which are working as an ancillary units to the large manufacturing units also. What we need is a holistic approach to be considered for developing a robust MSME sector in India by the government to bring various stakeholders, including financial institutions, government departments and public sector undertakings, industries, majors and multinational corporations, and state and central level regulators, all in one platform to have a much more robust and holistic approach towards development of MSMEs in India. So with this, I conclude my remarks here, and let's move forward.
Thank you, Sushil, for those remarks. Again, a lot of things you've covered there, and hopefully we can come back if we have time. I know a lot of us have a hard stop at 5 o'clock, so I'll move rapidly on. Sameerji, you gave a lot of positive messaging and positive enforcement to the message earlier. I'll be very grateful if you can continue.
Sure. And Avinash, a lot of that was based on our own journey as well as what we are seeking to do for MSMEs. So just a brief introduction to Global Inca, the solution that I founded as well as run currently. We are a network of small businesses, and we are creating a global community of digitized small businesses, because we believe a global digitized community of small businesses will become very soon a force to reckon with. And in fact, collectively, these MSMEs will be able to get better benefits than even Fortune 100 companies have enjoyed until now. And we are starting to see early signs of that. So Global Inca is, you would say, a parallel to what Facebook and LinkedIn are able to do, except we are entirely focused on connecting small businesses, building a community, currently 350,000 MSMEs from 149 countries. In India, we cover MSMEs from 4,300 cities. Even in the Philippines, where we have launched a version as part of our global test that we are doing, we cover MSMEs in over 730 cities and across various industries. So our whole concept is built around saying that the biggest ailment for small businesses is their uneconomic sizes. When people try and reach them, when people try and do business with small businesses, it's always hard. And what's the simple answer? Raise your prices, make it more ineffective in some ways economically for them. And that gets into a virtual spiral, because when the MSME is ineffective in having higher costs on the one side, lesser efficiencies, it becomes a downward spiral that doesn't seem to end, and that needs to be broken. And that's what we are seeking to break, along with a lot of partnerships. So Global Inca is co-branded by governments, trade bodies, and corporations, leading corporations. And by doing that, we are able to build this large global community. Now, at the crux of that, we have always believed that I've personally been at the head of digital transformations for various organizations. My last corporate role was with Citibank in New York, where I was trying to digitize Citi across 50 countries globally. And I know digital transformation is never easy. And the dream really was to say, what if we were to digitize MSMEs at the stroke of a button and literally in a matter of minutes? Now that is possible. Today's technology allows us to do that completely at the back of several partnerships that we've been able to build. Now, when you go into that, the entire premise is really based on the fact that it would not be unfair today to come up with a slogan which says to the MSMEs, digitize or perish. Now, perish may not be literal, but would figuratively go in that direction. The question is that how does an MSME digitize? What is the cost of digitization? What is the resources required? What all, wherewithal will one require, investments, etc. And that's where the beauty lies. And the thrust of my earlier discussions or points was to say, if we change our mindset, you could get this for free. You could get it for very, very minimum costs. And definitely it cannot be a bad return on investments for an MSME in terms of digitizing their business. The question is, how do you go about digitizing? And I have that broken into 4 components. The first is the core of your business. And if you were to think, and I talked earlier about saying that MSMEs don't have small or medium dreams, their dreams are always big, which is true. Now, if you want to build a big building on top of a small little house that you currently live in, how do you do that? And the city of Mumbai, where you and I both come from, has taught us enough of that. You can reinforce a structure on top of an existing small structure. And the way you do that is first go into the foundation, build a strong foundation, build 4 columns probably, and build the floor plates on top of that. So that foundation is the digital foundation that every MSME can do in their business. It's almost like renovating a moving train, but it can be done. Let the train keep moving, but keep renovating, building a strong foundation underneath. That foundation comes from how your inventory is managed, how you source material, and how you sell. If you can take off the sell side, which is on the supply chain side, if you were to take on the sourcing side, which is your vendor management side, and you start digitizing components where you have a clear idea of what you are offering, and there are solutions. Global Linker offers a number of those solutions entirely for free, by the way, to MSMEs. Now, once you start utilizing those solutions, you then come to the next one to say, how do I increase my efficiency with my customers and with my suppliers? Better communication, better feedback mechanisms, and there is a whole set of tools that are available today, completely within very, very easy access, and it doesn't take time to set it up or to run or manage it for that matter. Then you come on to your business efficiency components, which is the CRM, the ERPs, and the solutions, HRMS, etc. Again, those are pay-for-use services these days. You don't have to make significant investments, but as the scales and the volume start building, you do that. 4th is to start using other solutions that are available for better market access. We operate with the Federation of Indian Exports Organization, a mall for exporters, and it costs you nothing to join that solution and be able to get yourself exposed to the world. So solutions of this kind are available where you can then take the next leap. And I think when you look at the combination of all of these are available to MSMEs, and all the questions around manufacturing quality, process efficiencies, etc., become and I don't mean to put them in the second tier, but automatically, if you're going to the exports and you're not receiving orders, but your competitors are, it's a question of saying, what is my product? How does it stack up? How does it, in a competitive sense, face up with the rest of the competition? And that working will happen. But I think getting greater exposure to more markets, more customers, and being able to digitally reach out to more businesses, be connected, part of a network, of a community, I think these are very, very important elements for MSMEs today. And the moment they are able to take that constraint out to say, I am an MSME and I am disadvantaged, I think if somebody turns that into an advantage to say there is nobody more agile than me, there's nobody who can make faster decisions than I can, I haven't built so much of work above me that I can't really redo that or point it in a different direction. I think you've got everything that one could hope for at this time. The winners are the ones who are going to win it in the head and can, leverage, and I would even use the word exploit the solutions that are available easily to us to be able to communicate with anybody for that matter. Nothing is quite out of reach today, and I think there was talk about access to finance, and that is very, very important. But the more digitized you are, the more likely you are to get funded for your businesses rather than doing business the old way, as we many may have done in the past. So I think once that mindset changes, the opportunities open up, and then MSMEs can not only dream big but also achieve big. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Samir. Thank you again for the enthusiasm and your comments. A lot in comments, very similar background. We should connect offline. I think a lot of what you say also resonates with what we do at Dun & Bradstreet in terms of SMEs and credibility, reliability, and linkages. So yeah, we should talk about that. I think moving on rapidly again, as I mentioned, obviously access to credit and access to finance is always the big bad wolf in the room for SMEs. So Harsh, you touched upon a lot of things in your earlier comments. The floor is yours. Harsh? Is Harsh there?
I think
He's not there.
left. He's not. Yeah, he's not here.
Is Subhashji there?
Yes, she's also not there because I think.
So I think those were the two co-panelists and co-speakers we had who were going to cover on the finance side. So I'll drop that off if they're not there. I can see Lavneesh there, Dr. Lavneesh. In terms of the bits, in terms of digital transformation, would you like to add some material on what you mentioned earlier?
Thank you so much. I'll continue and carry forward the positive enthusiasm of Samir into some of our experiences. And all of us now agree that this is the time, this is one of the biggest crises faced for our generation. But at the same time, it has brought in the importance of SMEs when it comes to the digital market per se, as well as in terms of the digital usage per se. And all of us now, understand that the future, as we see, of the business, we are in, at least in immediate term, we will see a constrained and volatile demand and supply situation. That's one. That will surely happen. There will always be an ask on the remote work environment going forward. So there will be a hybrid model. There will never be a one model that we will gradually move to an ask of a socially distanced manufacturing also, right? So socially, we people would require that. And in terms of supply chain, we may see it becoming minimally touchable. That is minimal touch supply chain management. And if you see now, even for large corporations, the response lies in having an agile, resilient, a reactive model which can actually be pivoted on demand. That is something that we are looking at. Now, so if I am an SME, or for that matter, what is the way forward for me? So first and foremost is, it's very important that one is continuously aware of these tools. I'm not saying expertise at these tools, but at least the awareness of these tools, and that's where Samir and others are playing a fantastic role in creating this this awareness on the part of, say, a software industry that I represent. So number of initiatives, parallel initiatives, like as SAP, we have taken this initiative called Global Bharat. We are collecting the community onto a platform and making them learn from each other in terms of the enablement. That's one. Second, very important is to remove this mindset of that some solutions are for large organizations, and scaling up would be a challenge. I think the cloud-based development that we have had offer now huge benefits for SMEs, including the complete visibility and control, the very lower cost of acquisition, and most importantly, the flexibility and scalability that all of us had been asking for when it comes to an ease for an SME customer. The big guys always had the pockets to actually move forward. Here is the new mode. And third, which is more important in Indian situation that works very, very well, is this learning from peer success stories. Now, we have seen in the last 1 year, many of our small to medium customers demonstrate incredible resilience and business innovation through digital transformation. I can give the names. Gyan Dairy is one which did 100% digital subscription, and they are now managing 18,000 customers on 7,000 deliveries per day. Chitale Bandhu, the sweet manufacturer, they did this, and they had a complete digital based visibility of the supply chain and very little disruptions that they had. The Waycool as an agri supply chain customer. So the point that I'm trying to say is, it's it's quite visible and understandable, perceptible that people using digital are actually able to offer a more resilient response to the uncertainty and the agile demands of the business environment. That is something that that is more or less it's getting proven. The other thing that Samir also mentioned is the role of digital technologies to get global access. A global market access is to me a key in ensuring that there is a pull for digital tech. And I'm saying global market access. One obviously is through the awareness part. Second is a technology assisted global market access on a B2B network, on a business to business network. And there are a number of channels available. We offer something called Ariba as our business to business network, wherein suppliers, and we opened our discovery to last year and this year in the beginning to actually for people to actually get connected to the now the idea is one to expand the market potential, expand the market access, at the same time realize the digital pull from this digitally enabled market access backwards into improving your process efficiency. So that also is something. Now the last point that I wanted to mention is then how do we move forward? In my view, expecting SMEs to have one kind of arrangement with an ERP provider, with a fintech provider, with this with multiple things is actually unrealistic. That's something. The time probably in India has come wherein platforms will now need to work on a cluster-based approach of a consolidated offering as a bundle, maybe facilitated by associations like ASSOCHAM or others, in terms of a cluster-based awareness access and offering of multiple solutions on a single platform which people can use. I think the experimentation for this is likely to begin, and we will see soon the results thereon. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I hope I have been able to put forward some points for consideration.
I think those are all very good points. I think the cluster-based approach will definitely have a multiplier effect. So that's worth definitely talking about in much greater detail. I think we are just nearly out of time, and I think maybe that's the best way to end it. Shri Umeshji, my chairman on the MSME, would you like to wrap up, sir, maybe with your comments, and then we can wrap up for the day precisely at 5 if possible. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Avinash. And I believe most of us had to say what based on whatever our expertise is. Samir and Dr. Chanana were very gung-ho about the business prospects. I entirely agree with them that this is a great time for a small company, for a startup to be in India. And I believe the competition in India is not as much as is there elsewhere in the world. While this kind of insulates us from global competition, it also, in a way, closes our door to international markets. I mean, you very rightly, Avinash, mentioned that SMEs are not being competitive globally. One of the reasons is we do not employ the manufacturing processes which can be benchmarked against global competitors. I mean, there are small companies all over the world, be it in Europe, be it in Far East, China, etc., which employ absolutely the high technology processes which are automated, and Indian companies are not able to compete with them and are not able to access these more lucrative international markets. Most SMEs think that CapEx is not justified in automation and in bringing about a great consistency in their manufacturing, simply because they feel that the labor cost in India is low and the cost of replacing manpower, unskilled manpower, with some bit of automation is a huge capex. But they forget that apart from a lot of unskilled manpower which a factory has, it needs supervisors, it needs support staff, and all in all, it adds up to a lot of inconsistency, and it results often in inconsistent lead times, inconsistent quality, and so on. So I believe the way out would be simply for SMEs to take the leap going for mechanization and automation of their core manufacturing processes, material handling, and so on. And many states today are offering special incentives for setting up solar power plants on the rooftops of the factories. So one thing which is often said about automation is it's very power intensive, energy intensive. But if you are able to generate power on your rooftop, you will be able to consume a lot of it or do net metering, and that will so your energy cost will be paid by the energy that you generate, and in the end, your operating costs would certainly come down. So many companies have done this, and I believe in manufacturing, the way forward for most small companies to get into a bigger league would be to use automation to have greater consistency. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Umeshji. Thank you for that. I think, yeah, there's a start to be made in that, and those costs will only reduce, I guess, over a period of time. So that's definitely the way to go. And I really liked your comments about the automation and robotics. I think that that would be a great start if one could get that going. I think we are on the hour, really. So I can only say thank you on behalf of ASSOCHAM and myself for all of you for being such lively participants on this afternoon session. I think the minister had a lot of comments to share as well, and I guess at the end he was very appreciative of ASSOCHAM's efforts. So I guess there's a dialogue to be had there on behalf of the association with him and see how we can progress some of these ideas and thoughts. So I think, I don't know if Nahed or Deepak are there, but if there's nothing else, I'll say thank you once again and hope to connect with all of you, some of you offline, and take some of the thoughts which you shared. If I can personally or as Dun & Bradstreet help in any manner in the things we do for SMEs around data, our products for credibility, reliability, market access, please do reach out. We'll be very happy to help. And also in terms of the index, we are supportive of what ASSOCHAM is doing. So we will hope we can pull this around, and that should make it really a leading indicator in terms of what's happening in the sector, which should not only help the companies, but also help the community and the government in terms of setting more forward-thinking policies as well. So thank you again, and it's 5 o'clock. I don't know how we managed it, but we did. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Avinash.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Have a good evening. Take care. Bye now.
Good evening.